expected just because we got a great team, man. I love this team. I love everything about them. They didn't hesitate for 1 second after those first 2 weeks when all the noise was getting loud about the expectations. They didn't let that affect them for 1 second. They just came out there and answered the bell and responded 2 consecutive weeks. And so just really proud of them on this stage against that team. That's a really good football team. They're going to win a lot of games. And I just thought they really handled every moment in this game exactly how we needed to, especially in the second half. Turnovers, capitalizing on turnovers with touchdowns, special teams stepping up big, and that was just a great way to win a Thursday night game.
Zach Taylor, coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, after last night's 27-15 victory by the home team over the Miami Dolphins. The second half was kind of a weird experience because it just kind of felt to me a little flat and hollow while we were waiting to hear more about Tua Tagovailoa. The players, to their credit, and they've got no choice. The game goes on. We see that from time to time. A player suffers a potentially serious neck injury, is immobilized on a backboard. It takes 30 minutes until the next snap sometimes. And the players just have to keep going. They have no choice. I saw some tweets from former players about that last night. They have no choice but to keep going, and the players did. And it felt like it affected the Bengals more than the Dolphins at first. The Dolphins with Teddy Bridgewater had a bit of a spark, Peter, but in the second half it just was kind of a methodical thing where the Bengals regained the lead and pulled away. They just ultimately couldn't cover the Cincinnati receivers. Xavier Howard left with a groin injury. And it felt like Joe Burrow was just back there doing target practice, and the Bengals gaining enough yards, scoring enough points to get to 2-2 with a 27-15 win.
It was an odd, it was an odd game, obviously, especially after Tua Tagovailoa went out. But 3 things occurred to me. Number one, as I said in the last segment, you cannot expect an NFL team, good, bad, indifferent, to play well after the game that the Miami Dolphins played on Sunday. You can't expect a team to come out on Thursday and have a top performance when there's absolutely no way they can be fit, ready, and thinking of this as as a prime game because some of their defensive guys played between 80 and 90 snaps in 95 to 100 degree heat index. And okay, so we've gone over that. So that is one thing about this game that I'm not saying it bothered me, but coming into it, I wish that the Amazon people had discussed this a little bit more than very much fleetingly, very much in passing. This was the biggest factor in this game, period. At least until Tagovailoa went out. That's number one. Number two, Mike, the most amazing thing about where the NFL is right now on September 30th, okay, do you realize that 2 years ago, entering October, the NFL had 7 unbeaten teams? Last year, entering October, the NFL had 5 unbeaten teams. This year, entering October, the NFL will have 1 unbeaten team, the Philadelphia Eagles, who face a surprising challenge in the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Link on Sunday. And the last thing I would say is, look, I'm not saying that the Bengals' problems are over on the offensive line because they still had a few shaky moments last night. But I asked my friends at Next Gen Stats, I've got a partnership with them this year, to give me, if they could, the pressure stats on Burrow through the first 4 weeks. And I've written a lot about this, and I've talked a lot about this. But Burrow was sacked on just 1 of 32 pass drops on Thursday night, and he was pressured only 7 times on Thursday night, which is average or maybe slightly below average. So there is some evidence, I don't know how much, but there's some evidence that the Bengals might be starting to get it right on the offensive line.
Well, and this was an issue that was first flagged by Bill Belichick after the dramatic changes to the collective bargaining agreement in 2011 that reduced offseason workload, reduced intensity of practices in training camp, and now we have a reduced preseason down to 3 games. it takes a while for teams to get to where they are and what they will be. And the first month of the regular season is in many respects for plenty of teams and for specific units on teams where significant change has happened in the offseason. That is your preseason. The month of September was for the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, their preseason, the starting five, to get into a rhythm, to get into a groove, and they managed to do it last night. Now, whether it continues remains to be seen. It's a week in and week out proposition. You made the point, the excellent point, about the possibility that the Miami Dolphins defense, which was on the field for 90 plays on Sunday, may not have been in a position to do much of anything by way of putting pressure on that offensive line. That is part of this. And the idea that there's only one undefeated team, this is, to the extent we're mentioning former commissioners today, this is Pete Rozell's vision from 50 years ago come to fruition.
It's his dream. It's his dream.
He hated. I remember that was one of the first news items unrelated to the scores of games that I became aware of back in the 70s, that Pete Rozell hated the fact that it was the Steelers and the Cowboys and the Raiders and the Dolphins, and nobody else had a chance. And he hated that. He wanted parity. And now, here we are. And you're right, by Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern, there may be no unbeaten teams in the NFL, Peter.
Hey, look, I looked at the standings today, and I believe I'm right in saying this, Mike, but there are 29 teams with either one loss or two wins, or two losses and one win. And, a couple of things, there are ties involved there. But it's amazingly even. And it's why, to me, if I'm Josh McDaniels, I stand up with the 0-3 Raiders. I stand up in front of my team. And you know what I say today? I say, listen, nobody is really great. And that is why I don't want you to listen to the noise on the outside that says, oh, my God, their season's over. It's a debacle. They're 0-3. They can't come back. They can't. Of course you can come back. You're only 2 games out of first place. There's 14 games left. You can come back, and I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying anybody who, and again, I don't mean to diminish the importance of specific games, but anybody who says in week 4 of the season, well, this is a must-win, you're smoking something. It's not a must. There are no must-wins in week 4. None. 0. The Raiders don't even have a must-win in week 4. Can you imagine saying that someone's season is over when after 4 weeks they're 3 games out of first place? With 13 games to go, you're 3 games out of first place, and people say your season's over? Get a life. Anyway. This is the ultimate egalitarian season in the National Football League.
And I've been saying for a while now, these wins in September are just money in the bank for what's to come. This is the prelude for teams that will be dramatically different, better or worse, but they will be dramatically different when January rolls around. And, I've said for years now, the goal is to be in the conversation at or around Thanksgiving, and maybe early December now that there is a 17th game. But how many times do we see that team that is sputtering along at 500, that finds the gas pedal right after Thanksgiving and just takes off and feels that urgency of, we really can't lose many more. We've got 5 losses. We can't really lose many more. It's time to treat the rest of the regular season like the postseason. My point is there's going to be a lot of teams in that bucket. And who knows? That's going to make the month of December and January even more exciting. It's going to be a scrum for those 14 playoff spots. There's going to be some good teams that get left out, but it's going to be some exciting games to come as we set the stage and build toward what should be an exciting finish to the season if the teams continue to be jumbled up. And Peter, one of the reasons there's only one undefeated team. I mean, we've seen some crazy outcomes where, and Sims and I broke this down for both the Bills' loss and the Chiefs' loss, where 9 different things go not their way. One of those things goes their way and they win the game. But that just shows you how crazy it can be in the NFL. The talent is sufficiently packed together that you're the better team, but you make enough mistakes, you're not going to beat the team that is supposedly worse than you. So that's one of the reasons why it's jumbled up, and it may be one of the reasons why it continues to be jumbled up.
And, Mike, one of the other things about this particular season, I wrote about it last week, why have there been so many low-scoring games? Why, as of last Monday morning, was scoring down 5 points per game? Now, that is a lot. Why is it that when Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers play each other, it is a 14-12 game? Why is it that in a Russell Wilson game, the game is 11-10? Why are these things happening? And I do believe that one of the tangible things, especially early in a season, is that you're seeing more and more teams play this what I call the old Vic Fangio defense. And the Vic Fangio defense, in essence, is you play two deep safeties, and those safeties are not running around at the snap of the ball. Okay? Those deep safeties are just sitting there, and they're not giving the offense any pre-snap reads. And it's almost like as soon as the ball is snapped, because oftentimes a really smart quarterback like Aaron Rodgers is going to, at the snap of the ball, as soon as he sees the first step a safety takes, he's going to eliminate where that guy is going. And it's a perfect example. The Logan Ryan interception off Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. He was playing the deep safety. He didn't move before the snap of the ball. He didn't move on the first tick when Rodgers was looking at the secondary. And he finally moved when he saw where Aaron Rodgers was going. He jumped the route and got an interception and killed one of the Packer drives. My only point about this, Mike, is that every year in the NFL, there's some twist. There's something new. There's something happening by more teams than usual. And I think this year, even though the gross number of plays with two deep safeties, it's about the same as it was a year ago, what is changing is the pre-snap reads, and the post-snap reads, quite honestly, just simply are not the same as they have been, let's say, 3 and 4 years ago.
And, there's some basic wisdom to that. Force the offenses that haven't really had a chance to get in rhythm to execute and work their way down the field methodically, because chances are they're eventually going to hit a fourth down, or they're going to make a mistake. The Bengals lost their first two games. They could have won both of them. They both went right down to the wire. They've rebounded nicely from starting 0-2. Joe Burrow last night had 287 passing yards and a pair of touchdowns. T. Higgins had 124 receiving yards and a score. Jamar Chase was held to 81 because we expect a lot more than that from Jamar Chase at this point. Joe Mixon had 61 rushing yards. The first touchdown of the night got stonewalled near the goal line later in the game. Von Bell, couple of picks. And that was the way the Bengals, a total team effort, defense stepping up when it needs to, Joe Burrow getting the ball to his guys. And as I said earlier, it got easier in the second half because Xavier Howard went out and those defensive backs for the Dolphins could no longer cover the Bengals receivers. And Peter, to the point you made a few minutes ago, may have something to do with playing 90 snaps in 90-degree weather on Sunday against the Bills.
The one other thing to think about when watching this game, Mike, what happened in the first 40 minutes of this game? Let's say 35 minutes, probably. What happened in the first 35 minutes? The Bengals did not look very good. They remember a couple of times, like on that 4th and 1, the wide run by Joe Mixon, the end sweep.
Horrible call.
He got nailed.
Horrible call.
A horrible call. Horrible. But just remember, it's crazy to think about that on September 29th, the darlings of Southwest Ohio are getting a smattering of boos at home in a huge nationally televised game. But there was a smattering of boos last night at times. So, and I'm not saying this to try to be a negative nabob here, but I am going to say it, and that is the Bengals benefited from the Miami Dolphins playing the most draining football game that any team has played this year so far, And that team getting on a plane 3 mornings later to come and play another football game on national TV at a very, very high level. And look, Miami was hurt, obviously, by the loss of Tua Tagovailoa, clearly. But I think the Bengals benefited from an exhausted team, especially in the second half, not being able to put up the kind of fight that normally I think a team would have been able to put up under regular rest and without injuries. Hey, look, that's the NFL. Nobody's crying for anybody. I get it. Sometimes you benefit from that. Sometimes it bites you in the rear end. I get it. All I'm saying is the Bengals benefited from that last night.
And that's a great point. And I would be remiss if I did not at least give you a mild golf clap for the Spiro Agnew modification to the nattering nabobs of negativity. One of the most underrated quotes of all time.
Of all time.
But you know, you're right. I remember when they reduced overtime from 15 minutes to 10 minutes because the Buccaneers played 75 minutes on a Sunday and had to play on a Thursday night, and it was a crap show against the Falcons on that Thursday night. So and look, and this goes back to the point we talked about earlier. I mean, Thursday Night Football is not going anywhere. They may make some revisions to who can and can't play on Thursday night. Thursday Night Football is here to stay. If we didn't already know that, I mean, it's kind of baked into the 11-year Amazon billion-per-year contract. But these are issues that are going to come up from time to time. Yeah, no one's ever going to play 75 minutes, but they may play 60 minutes in 90 degrees and be on the field for 90 snaps, and then they got to turn around and play, and then you throw in, you know, the hurricane kind of making things discombobulated. They go to Cincinnati a day early. They're practicing in an environment where somebody was filming their practice. We still don't know what the hell that was all about at the University of Cincinnati. That just kind of bubbled up and disappeared without a whole lot of analysis. But the Dolphins were in a tough spot last night. You're right. And I bet somebody who spends a lot of time analyzing all these factors and wagering money on it made a nice little profit last night on taking the Bengals and laying the points. Teddy Bridgewater came in and had 193 passing yards, 14 for 23, a touchdown and a pick. Tyreek Hill, big game for him, 160 receiving yards. But, you know, it worked at times. There was that nice long pass from Teddy Bridgewater to Tyreek Hill. That was a moment where it felt like the Bengals aren't going to win this game. The Dolphins are going to be the ones who respond better to the injury to Tua Tagovailoa than the Bengals did. And, you know, Teddy's a guy that they probably were getting ready to play because of the back and ankle injuries we already knew about, and Teddy's no slouch. Teddy can play. So I don't know how much time Tua is going to miss, and hopefully he misses exactly as much time as he needs to for everyone to be completely sure that he's healthy and safe. But, you know, Teddy can still get it done if they have to go with him. It's a nice ball. He got it out there. It wasn't underthrown. You know, they still could have won the game with all the things that you talked about, all the factors weighing down the Dolphins. They still had a chance to win this game.
You know, I like the fact that Teddy Bridgewater showed when he went in this game, and he didn't play a complete game, you know, for the time he was in there. But he made some big throws, and that was obviously the biggest throw. And I don't know if you noticed this, Mike, but last week against Buffalo, and I watched that game pretty closely, when Teddy Bridgewater came in the game, Tyreek Hill's body language says, oh, come on, dude, get the ball to me. You know, there was a couple of times when Tyreek appeared to be unhappy that he didn't have Tua in there with him. But last night, I think that what Tyreek Hill showed is that, look, if you just get a quarterback who can throw the ball a long way, nobody is going to overthrow me, okay? Just throw it as far as you can. I'll go get it. And that's what he showed last night.
Well, hey, look, Tua had a long ball to Tyreek Hill early in the game, and it was underthrown and it was picked off. And we've seen that. And it's hard to not underthrow a guy as fast as Tyreek Hill. But Teddy did a nice job of getting the ball at least close to not being underthrown. You can't overthrow him, this Dolphins team will still win plenty of games. The Bengals will win plenty of games. There's a lot of good teams out there this year, And it's going to be an exciting season from the standpoint of week to week, game to game, fight to fight between teams. We really don't know who's going to win, and hopefully they stay packed together and as many teams are as alive as possible.
Hey,
when we
Mike.
get into January. Yes,
Mike, when you've got the Detroit Lions averaging 32 points a game in the first 3 weeks, you know it's going to be an odd year and some weird things are going to happen. But I think what we're seeing early on in this season is setting the stage for an absolutely unpredictable last 3+ months.
We'll help you set the stage for a very good week 4 in the NFL, headlined by the Chiefs and the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. More PFT Live presented by Google Pixel right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.